What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Danny the Bull, here with Trevor Dietz, product manager, Mcfarlane Digital. What's going on, Trevor?
I'm doing great. We had our space earlier today. People have been joining the ecosystem. People are getting hyped for the Bane drop. It's an exciting time, and I'm excited to be here to talk about it.
Yeah, and that's my first question is how tall are you before I get into all that? Because I see in your Twitter bio, part of your Twitter bio on top of all your roles is tall guy or tall person. So how tall are you?
I'm 6'6".
Ah, it's big, man, massive.
Yeah,
look at this guy.
Out of frame.
So what's it been like? You guys have been working for a while on this, and now over the last couple of weeks, it's really come to fruition, right? You had the Spawn stuff drop about 6 months ago, and then you've been grinding, I'm sure, behind the scenes, but now people are starting to see the fruits of your labor and everyone's work. What's this last couple of weeks been like for you guys?
Yeah, so this has been, I mean, it really is like the culmination of, I've been there for almost 18 months, and this really feels like the culmination of all of that. Getting these, getting the getting the licensors on board takes a really long time. Building the platform, it takes a really long time. And obviously this is still like an early version of it, and we're going to continue to build and improve upon it. We've talked about some of the features that we have coming and some of the stuff that we're thinking about and excited about. But yeah, this is like, for us, it's like both like a really exciting to like we finally got there, but at the same time, this is really, we finally got to the starting line. Yes. And now we get to really like start running it with this platform and continue to like build it out and build it and improve it. And it's like, and it's exciting because now it's like it's really going, and we're really seeing like the audience get on board and people starting to collect. Obviously, like, I mean, on the more pure like blockchain side, seeing the floors moving, seeing the amount of trading, it's all representative to us of like, oh, we've got like a healthy market and a healthy ecosystem and audience that we're starting to build here, which is exactly what we're looking for. So we're really excited about it, but there's still a lot of work.
Yeah, and I was, I love the Batman drop. I love the signatures that were included. I was lucky enough to hit one. I hit a black and white signed by Todd, number 12.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was super excited, man. So I love the signatures in there. Is that something that you guys are looking to do on like how regular of a basis do you guys look to incorporate, signatures from Todd?
It depends on the drop, and it depends on the relationship that whoever the creator has with the piece. We definitely want to continue doing the signatures, offering more signatures without giving no more spoilers or information about that. Todd is not the only person we've talked to about signatures, so we're really looking at how much bigger and further we can take that, and also the fact that we built this tech that allows us to do digitally these one-of-one signatures on the 3D figures is something that we really like and absolutely want to continue.
And all those are one-of-one signatures, right? Because I've seen people online questioning, they're like lining them up side by side, trying to determine if they're, facsimiles or whatever. He actually signed them digitally.
Yeah, they're all unique one-of-one signatures. Obviously, it's his signature, so there's like the differences are very small. Like he all signed them like, and Todd is unique in his signature. He actually has a lot of different ways that he often signs his name on his work with us because of the like form factor of the space. Like he signed it that particular way. But really it's like he has each of those signatures, even if they're different, they're subtly different, but they're all unique. And so and there are no like repeats of his signature in that lineup.
Yeah, and how involved is he in this whole, like, on the digital side of things?
I mean, it depends, like, from a content side, it depends on the drop. Like, obviously, with that Batman drop, super involved because it's like, it is his work. So, like, involved from start to finish on that. And he talked about it in his video that he made about a week and a half ago for that drop. So it's like, yeah, he is very involved on a number of the different pieces that we do on the content side. And, of course, on the, like, whole platform side, also super involved in terms of, like, basically so much of this was built around so much of the ideals that Mcfarlane Toys stood for on the physical side and bring them over to the digital side. And so making sure that we like stood up and meet or exceed those same ideals in the digital side that, like, again, he established 30 years ago, and now we are continuing now. So there's that element of it, as well as like on the day to day, like we're talking to regularly about what's coming, what's dropping. We talk occasionally, depending on the piece, talk about mid-size, edition size, and also what our larger goals are with the platform in terms of bringing more users in.
Yeah, so you guys got the Bane drop coming up. That's in 2 days, I believe, right? And that looks pretty dope. And you've got 3 rarities in there, and you got a super rare one of just, what is it, like 35 or?
Yeah, so we have this drop has 1,993 editions. 1993 chose because it was the premiere year of that comic. We have there's 1,600. We have like the kind of the rare is the 1,600 Banes, and then we have 360, and those are with the green Venom. Then we have the red Venom version of Bane, which that is the we're calling it the legendary tier, and so that one there's only 360 of those, so less than 500 of those out there in the world. And then the super, they're like the ultra rare, our exotic as we call it. That's like what we call our top tier of rarity. Only 33 of those, and those are the blue Venom.
Yeah, that's crazy, and whoever hits that is, that's awesome, man. Just 33. I love that. I always love, one of the things I like is when I collect sports cards, and you get like the variants in there, and it'll be like, the same card, but like limited to 10, or they'll throw one of ones in there. And that's just like a great experience to hit that. So I love that you guys are building in those super rare, editions on the drop.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys got the Batmobile coming out, right?
Yeah, we teased that.
Can you tell us when?
I'm not going to give the date on that one. We're obviously like naturally really excited to drop that piece. It's such a iconic piece and such a requested piece. It's also on the physical side, one of I don't know the specific numbers of it, but it is already one of the best selling Mcfarlane toys, physical toys of all time. Like we truly can't keep it on shelves. It's moving like crazy over there. So the demand for this piece on the physical side is enormous. Like we've unprecedentedly huge. And so we're very excited to get it onto the digital side. One of the other things we're excited to do on the digital side for it is provide, right now our showroom is basically, you have that gallery space, and then you have the underground kind of bunker space, as we've been calling it. We want to add like a proper garage space. So we're going to be expanding that showroom in both the daytime and the nighttime versions to add that new garage space. And so hopefully we have that. And the goal is to kind of time that with like the Batmobile coming out, so that you have like a cool garage to put your cool big life-size Batman in. Or digital like Batmobile in. So that's like some of the plans for that. Again, we're not going to give specifics on it. That's kind of what we're working towards. But that'll be really cool when that comes together.
Yeah. So, planning something and executing are kind of like two different things, yes. Right? Have there been unexpected issues that you've had to deal with, now as you're getting things going?
Oh yeah. I mean, this whole, just even the timing of this whole, when we announce it in the drop, we have been ready to go for a long time, getting this stuff together. And there were just a couple pieces that took weeks, if not months, to come together and bring together at the last minute. So the fact that they, timing of things is always shifting. And also we're looking at where the physical market is for these toys, where the digital market is for these toys, trying to understand where it's at, to decide what makes sense to launch when. Also looking at the licenses that we have and the licenses that are coming, so that there is a balance of content across everything. And there's just so many factors that go into deciding what comes out when. We're also looking at making sure that we have exciting drops that get people engaged, especially now as we're still very young and still very new, making sure we're constantly having exciting drops that get people engaged, get people excited about the space, to get them interested and invested in the whole ecosystem. Again, it comes back to the idea of we don't want people. We want people to give to the ecosystem as much as they're taking from it. Hopefully it's not just a value extraction. It's really building that long-term community kind of play where people are deeply invested in the space and they're giving to the community and they're getting a lot in return for it.
And that's what that whole XP system is about, right?
Exactly.
Trying to turn the ecosystem into a place where you're incentivized to collect and hold and build your collection as opposed to flipping. I want to talk about XP a little later, but the Batman drop was dope. What's the cadence now going to be like in terms of releases?
So right now we are on a weekly cadence. That's going to move very soon to, we want to get to a 2-week cadence, at least right now, because we think that really gives our drops time to first of all, it gives us some time to breathe after all these drops. And it allows us to, like, setting up a drop and executing it takes a lot of effort on the team's part. So I want to get to a point where we basically have like a week that's content focused and then a week that's more like ecosystem and systems focused, where we put out, like, is that the week we put out like a major patch with new features, or some other update going in that off week from the collection. We have new licensors coming on board, and so I think at some point that cadence is going to accelerate, as we want to make sure that we're serving all our licensors and making sure they're getting content out there, but still we want to give all the content room to breathe. We're also going to start at some point in the fall. We're going to start having physical digital collectibles really come out, and those end up going, because those go through a mass retailer channel. We are more at the whimsy of how those kind of businesses operate, which tend to be first of the month, or like whatever the date is. Like, usually you're at a cadence first of the month, you send the product to the retailer and then they stock it accordingly. So we will basically have what we're expecting we get to is a point where we have a 2-week digital only cadence. There's kind of a monthly physical digital cadence, and then there will be, between all of those, there will be systemic updates as well, system and like app updates and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm assuming a lot of that digital stuff is fourth quarter due to like holiday sales. Is that like?
Yeah, it's also just like, I mean, I never worked for Walmart, so I can't really speak to their whole supply chain. But ultimately, that content, because it's physical, it's manufactured overseas. It has to get shipped here. It has to get into their warehouse, and it has to get their supply chain system, so they manage its distribution to all their stores. It's supply chain. It's one of the most and logistics. It's one of the biggest, most complicated industries in the world, and we have this product that we need to route into that. So that's one of the cases where we definitely play by their rules. Like, that's the product goes when the product goes, based off what they need. So that's kind of what we're going for. Is like basically first a month there will be new stuff filtering into the ecosystem on that side.
It's interesting, to have that extra layer built on top. I actually bought like $300 worth of stuff back in for myself. So me and my wife, we buy ourselves Christmas gifts because I can't pick out anything for her that she'll like. So she buys stuff. Yeah. And I'll just buy myself stuff. So for Christmas last year, part of what I bought myself was a bunch of stuff from Mcfarlane physical, so that I could land that Spawn stuff.
Yeah.
And I was super happy with it. And I was listening to Todd on, I think it was Paul Barron, and he was talking about the digital side of things and trying to convert physical collectors to the digital side and vice versa, right? Trying to convert these new digital collectors to the physical side. In the limited time that you guys have done this, you've done a little with Spawn, did it just recently with Black Adam. Is there any data to suggest that it's working and that the physical products are moving because of these digital collectors?
We're certainly seeing, yes, on these drops, we're certainly seeing physical product move because of the digital collectors. But for us, we also look at, like, that's like the North Star. Like, if like everything that we're trying to do is building towards, basically, can we bring that massive physical collecting audience that Mcfarlane has? And it's like that audience is an order of magnitude larger than the entire digital collecting space as it is right now. Like, the number of people who are buying Mcfarlane toys, physical toys, is so much larger than the entire digital collecting space. So obviously that's a huge market opportunity. But I think another part of it is, it's like, there's value in digital collecting, as we all know, and there are certain affordances that come with digital collecting that make it better than physical collecting. Obviously, there are the obvious trade-offs, like
Right.
everyone points to. It's not tangible; you can't actually hold it. But there's the things like, what can we do on the content side? The quality of the collectibles and digital, like we can push the render quality further than you ever could with physical. As detailed as a physical collectible is, it's still just painted plastic. We can actually do like actual like simulation of those real materials and actually make it look even closer to what the real thing is supposed to look like. Obviously, things like animation, visual effects, sound effects, those kinds of things can come on the digital side in a way that you can't do on the physical side. The whole ecosystem being this whole highly social, highly gamified objectives and rewards to help you on your collecting, to help you enhance your collecting and like move you on your collecting journey. All that kind of stuff is highly, like that's the kind of stuff that there's certain like just designing ecosystem affordances on the digital side that you can't do on the physical side. Someone actually asked in the chat here, and I was going to comment on it. It's like people talking about, if you're a physical collector, and I'm sure you know this, at some point, if you collect enough stuff, you run out of space. Like there's no more space that you can put it in your house. One of what we think is so beautiful about digital collecting, and the digital space is inherently infinite. Like there should be no limits to how much space you have to collect. Like, and the person asked about digital land, like, I am strongly against digital land because like the beauty of digital is that the land goes on forever. We can collect forever and we can always add. Now there are limits to like there are other technical limits like draw distance or number of polygons on the screen. And so there might be some tech limits that we have to run into, but ultimately you should never run out of space to continue to grow your collection. And in the digital space, we can continue to offer that. So for us, that's a really big part of it. I mean, I could go on features like that. Grading, the grading of collectibles, how good the quality is. It's instant and global on the digital side. Collectibles don't degrade, like they don't lose quality over time. They don't get worse over time like they do in the physical world. There's just a lot of things that make digital collecting so good. And we have to, it's incumbent upon us to teach our physical collectible audience that value. And that doesn't mean just telling them that it's value. It's showing it to them. It's like connecting our physical and digital collecting ecosystem. When you earn when you buy a physical toy, you should earn XP for that. And that should be seen on your profile on our website. That's something that we want to move towards. And then you can see, oh, as I earn enough XP over there, I unlock certain things on the physical store. And hey, there's this whole digital ecosystem, and the people who are at the top of the leaderboard on the physical side are usually playing on the digital side as well. And those kinds of things, when you can show the audience the value of the system, then they'll start seeing the value in the content. And that's when you get physical collectors interested in digital content.
It's pretty interesting. Now, do you know how many how many people collect over at the physical side on Todd?
Oh, geez. I know on that side, like it depends. I mean, I don't know the specific numbers, but I know that like at its peak, it's a little just because of like it's enough numbers that when we look at macroeconomic things like where the economy is, it actually affects the number of toy sales. So right now where the economy is not like at its, like I think people are a little bit more hesitant, it's down a little bit, but overall it's like we're looking at like when it's at its peak, literally millions of toy sales every year. And like truly like, I think, and then through our physical, it's something like, I want to say it's like 3 to 5 million individual toys sold each year, something like that. It's probably even more than that. I don't know the full numbers of it.
Yeah, it'd be amazing if you could bridge that side over to the digital. As you guys get, gain more traction in the space, how do you plan to deal with things like bots and create a fair system for people to, actually mint and not run into that problem?
Yeah, so that's part of the reason for all the gamification, the focus on XP, and then the allow listing accordingly. Ultimately, again, it comes back to this idea of like limiting. We look at bots as one of many cases of people putting very little into the ecosystem but trying to extract as much from it as possible. And a bot is just someone who's using like a bot is basically someone who's using the tools to do that in an efficient as efficiently as possible. It's the efficient extraction of value, and that's what's not fair to the ecosystem. If someone's going to come in, and so the reason for having these allow lists around XP is the only way to earn XP is to engage in our ecosystem through a bunch of different ways, whether it's purchasing a collectible, holding a collectible. You have to have an account to earn XP at all. Going and visiting other people's showrooms, having people visit your showroom, all that behavior and all that action creates the situation where people are that's what creates that engagement. Like a bot is basically a non-user who's using the fact that they control a bunch of non-users to get as much, again, to extract as much value as possible. If someone comes in and made like 1,000 accounts, but each of those 1,000 accounts was like highly active in trading, are they really bot accounts, or at that point are they just one person controlling, basically acting as 1,000 highly engaged users at that point, which has positives to the net positives to the ecosystem overall. So for us, it's really how do we eliminate people who are not contributing to the ecosystem but trying to take as much out of it, and that's kind of what those systems are for.
Yeah, Sleepin's asking when Blizzard Activision NFTs.
I hear you. No, I won't comment on that.
Yeah. In terms of, so how many users do you have right now who've connected to that web app and have XP points?
Oh, right now we're really excited. It's grown massively in the last like 2 weeks, but we're now at we're now in the app thousands of users, and then number of wallets connected is a lot more than that. Like it's approaching probably like 10,000 wallets connected.
Wow. And I loved, I was, when we were talking before we started, I talked about how I love the XP system. I love the gamification of it because it immediately pulls you in and, gamifies the whole experience so that, just seeing your name on the leaderboard. And, I've been going back and flipping back and forth with Mr. Rolex, and he's going to blow me out real soon, but I'm really enjoying like just being neck and neck with him for this small time that I can be. Right, I feel like a whale.
Well, the good news in our ecosystem, because we have we have XP right now, but it's all seasonal. So even if he blows by you, at some point, we're going to reset everybody's seasonal XP, and then you guys are going to be at the same level. So maybe that at that seasonal reset becomes the time for you to like grab a bunch of collectibles so you can accelerate and get ahead of him again and like build that lead. So that's like one of the things, we're going to have those consistent resets in the ecosystem. We're also going to be, and this is coming from my kind of game design background here, but it's like I want to run this as like a live service game, and I talk about like there's metas that develop. Basically, there's a meta strategy in terms of how people are collecting, and people are going to make decisions about what they collect in order to min-max the number of XP they're getting or their position on the leaderboard or what have you. And we want to support all of that. And we also want to be able to kind of craft and shape the meta to keep the whole collecting environment interesting. So like one of the things we've already talked about is we're going to have set rewards for set XP is coming really soon. That's one of the things that we're building, and that's going to come with the reset. We think there will be an interesting shift at that point. Right now, you earn a lot of XP just for holding a bunch of random stuff. We argue that is kind of overpowered, and we're actually thinking like, let's nerf per collectible XP, and really when we put out the set XP, really buff that so people are incentivized to collect whole sets as opposed to just stacking or just like putting everything together kind of willy-nilly. So we talk about that, or like rewarding people for stacking one individual collectible, or for like collecting like a specific number. And if we see you have like, if there's some number, if you just own all the 762s for whatever reason, and you just have like 5 of them, we should give you a bonus for that. And then balancing the values that all those things have to incentivize people to collect in new and interesting different ways. And that stuff gets us like really excited as well.
Yeah, and that keeps things fresh and interesting for the user base. And I love how you call everyone players, right? I noticed that over the last week you referred to the allow list people as players.
I try to use that term as I don't like I've used the term user. I don't like that term. It sounds too like it sounds like we're building Microsoft Word here. And that's like not, but I like player because it reflects like this is play. Like this is an ecosystem where people are coming in and there is a game that they're playing here. I really view like even the speculative market that looking at the market, trying to buy something low, sell it high, engaging with the other users, like those are all engagement play patterns that the audience is engaging in. And we want to support them like that. And we view it, as a player base.
Yeah. How often are you looking like in terms of the seasons and resetting?
That's actually remains to be determined. For sure, this period that we just went through since we launched until now, we're hoping this is by far the longest like season, if you want to call it. I think we have to kind of suss it out based off the drops. If it's like the kind of thing that goes for 3 months or goes for 8 weeks or whatever the number is. I think it's longer than a month, but I don't think it's more than like 3 or 4 months. It's just about finding the right balance, depending on like how often we can, what we need to do to keep the ecosystem fresh from both like you at some point you want to give it enough time that people have time to adapt and adjust their play style. If you go too fast, it doesn't matter. There's not enough time to make it changes. The problem when you go too long, which is kind of what we're experiencing now, is people have been at the top of the leaderboard for 8-9 months at this point, and they're just too far ahead for anybody to catch up to them. So that's why we kind of want to balance around it. The other thing we want to do is introduce more leaderboards. Right now, we just have a raw total XP top to bottom leaderboard for the whole world. Like I'd love to do like regional leaderboards. So like depending on what region you're in to see how far up and down you are. I'd love to do leaderboards around other metrics. So like whether it's per license or like most XP captured in a period of time. We could do even things like percentage change. So like you and a whale might be competing on a leaderboard, but it's like it might be the percentage change leaderboard. And for you with 10,000 XP, if you gain 10,000 XP, you double. Whereas if they had 100,000 XP and they gain 10,000 XP in the same amount of time, it's a much smaller percentage change. And so that leaderboard we think could be a lot more interesting because it could be very volatile, and it would be very interesting to see someone like shoot up the leaderboard in time for a drop or like and see that motion, and that could be really interesting to incentivize like again new collecting behaviors and stuff like that.
Yeah. Do you plan to keep like lifetime stats there so that?
Oh yeah. That's already built into it because I mean, I don't think we will ever. I don't want to. Let me rephrase it. I don't want to say this one's set in stone. I don't want to build rewards too much into lifetime stats because engagement should be an ongoing thing. It shouldn't be a thing like just because you engaged a lot 2 years ago and haven't touched it since then, and then we do something interesting and come back. I want to keep people engaged the whole time. So I like rewarding them now for what they're doing now. But lifetime stats are obviously that's going to be an interesting leaderboard for whoever's just earned the most in the whole existence of the app.
Yeah, and I think that's what's cool about it. Even if they're not rewarded because, like you said, like you get that 2-year head start, you're going to blow everyone out. Yeah. But in terms of just like looking back 5 years from now and see who's got that number one, even if they're not, that's not what's used in terms of like allow list. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's like we've talked about. Again, I'm just musing on features. Again, these are things that we haven't built yet and aren't even necessarily going to commit to building, but we talk about stuff like I mean, if you play like video games, you know about like earning trophies and badges and stuff like that. There's so many other ways we can reward people, and people love objectives and rewards. That's ultimately what a game is. So it's like the more we can build that into this this whole experience, this whole play ecosystem, I think the more excited they're gonna be.
Hello K's in the house. You got a question about? Have we announced a special Bane feature where you'll be able to remove his leg yet?
No. Also, I don't believe that's the definition of paraplegic. Crazy Dan's right up there with you.
Yeah, Crazy Dan, man. I see you on that leaderboard, man. I'm trying to catch you out. You know, I'm maybe next week. Maybe depends how I do on these Bane drops. So, what is like the long-term vision of Mcfarlane Digital?
I think there's a couple different things we're really moving towards. And again, we've talked a lot, or I try to think of what we're building in terms of the outcomes we're trying to achieve. So one of them is can we be the onboarding point for physical collectors into the digital space? Like, if we can do that, that's going to be massive for Mcfarlane Toys as a whole, because now we have a whole, like, it brings all these audiences together. And also, can we be the ones that bring digital collectors over to physical? Building that, it just allows us to grow our audience and serve them in so many new ways. So that, for one, is like a goal that we're always going to be working towards. I think one of the other ones, and this is particular to me, though I think it applies to the ecosystem, is how do you make this the most fun place to collect? Like, I would get really excited if there are people who are making collecting decisions beyond just the kind of stuff that they're making decisions on now. Like, I mean, like I want people collecting because they like engaging in the system. If we can get there where we have a large audience that is collecting and truly playing the ecosystem because it's fun, I think that's like a huge win for us. And I think making this just the most fun place to engage with this stuff, I think is like just a huge opportunity for us to win. And then, like, between all of that, there's also a number of other features, like keystone features that we're going to be delivering. I see someone asked in the chat about a mobile app. So yeah, we're working on a mobile app that is going to be coming at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later. We're also looking at strong integration of the digital and the physical side of Mcfarlane Toys, from Mcfarlane Toys digital, the viewer app, all the way to the Mcfarlane Toy Store, which is our online store, so that people see that those accounts are connected and they're earning and they're being rewarded across physical and digital. Those are two of our large, like, more immediate goals. And then we also look at really how we can expand the whole, like, where else can we put digital collecting? I don't really view these as platform goals, more as like just keystone features that we want to offer. Things like, can we be on consoles? Can we be on VR platforms? Obviously, mobile is one that we talked about as well. I think mobile is the top priority of those three. So it's hard for me to point to, like, I mean, long-term vision is really like achieving those, like, outcomes that we're trying to go for.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I've saw that you guys are looking to get into, like, sandbox and.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we can talk about it. Yeah. So I think people have asked a lot of questions about the interoperability and what that means. Interoperability is interesting in the like blockchain space because first of all, as a baseline, all our collectibles, you have full custody over them. You can bring them into your wallet. You can bring them into any. You can buy, sell, and trade them on any platform that you want, and we are totally okay with supporting that. And we're really excited and proud that we get to offer that level of true ownership and, like, custody, which is frankly so far beyond what everybody else in the digital collecting space is offering at this point. And that's just the baseline. What we're building on top of that, and this is going beyond just that interoperability, but actually building on top of the interoperability that we offer, is the 3D asset. People think that the 3D asset is part of interoperability. It's not. It's actually beyond it. The truth is the blockchain is not something you can put a 3D asset on. There is no blockchain that supports high asset sizes, if that makes for lack of, like, you can't put
a storage issue.
Yeah, it's a storage issue because of just the nature of the blockchain. It's just a distributed ledger. It's pointing to those things. So because of that, blockchain doesn't actually really offer in itself the best delivery mechanism for those 3D objects. So we're having to build, like, a whole ecosystem effectively on top of that to be able to serve that content. And so where that starts with us is offering that token gated 3D model export, which is a feature that we are offered, that we're, like we said, is coming later in the summer. We wanted to get past these first drops so we could turn and then focus on that. And basically what that feature basically means, if you own one of these collectibles, you'll be able to download that 3D asset and then go use it in all these different environments. So you'll be able to take it and import that 3D asset into spatial or on cyber or whatever metaverse you want to use. If you're someone who's played around with a game engine like Unity or Unreal Engine, you can bring that asset right into that game engine. Same if you like 3D modeling, you can bring it right into Blender or Maya or ZBrush or like Substance or Maxon, like whatever, or Cinema 4D, I guess, like whatever you're using, you can bring that asset into it. If you think the assets look good in our showroom, but you want to take them to an even higher level, drop it in Octane render and actually render it with path tracing, and you'll see it at like the true like extreme high level in terms of rendering. It won't be real time because that's not what Octane does, but like we will support that. Like there's like hundreds of applications, decentralized or not, that support these files, and we want to build a system that serves them. That system doesn't really exist on chain right now. We're at the very, very beginning of people trying to figure that out, because frankly, up until now, the demand hasn't really existed, and not many people were actually had the desire to support it. We are kind of first to the party on this whole thing. So that's kind of the situation that we're in. It's like we're already the most interoperable by the traditional sense of blockchain, in the sense of that full custody, be able to take it wherever you like, and to any like platform, buy, sell, trade it wherever you want. And then this is new tech that we're building on top of that. And so that's kind of why, first of all, that's why it's taking a while, and why also we're like focusing on, let's get some content out there before we go back and achieve this. The other thing that we've tried to make clear and get in front of, this is not going to come to all the collectibles, at least not at the start, because it's a per collectible basis from both a tech perspective, as well as people can imagine, talking to the licensors, getting them on board with that, showing that we have a framework that works for this. So our plan is really to start this. It's going to start with the dragons and with Spawn, and then we hope to expand it to the other collectibles that we offer as well.
Is there like an expected timeline for that?
For the first ones, we're really hoping to have out in the summer. So that'll be like, I'm hoping mid-late August, we have those first ones coming out. We have the tech for the export already built. There's a couple small pieces we need to like put into it still. And then it's basically about serving that content so everybody can engage in it. I'm not going to give any timelines on like other licensors, because that is like, it's just too much to unpack. It's also related to kind of how the licensor feels about it. Then there's like always like other wheeling and dealing that goes with that kind of stuff. So it might be a really long time, and we're okay with that, and we're willing to state that, but it's a huge part of what we're trying to build here. And we're going to continue to support it and push for it.
Yeah. And how many people do you guys have working over there?
Oh, geez. On the digital, I mean, the physical side is like 80 people. It's like a massive team. But on the digital side, we have basically 4 different teams who work on it in different capacities. The internal team, the council, the internal council that kind of runs it, is basically led by me, and then people have also met Lee from the team, but there's also a number of other people internally who work on it. And then we have a number of different teams that we work with to help us build all this content. All in, there's probably 60 people working on it between the different groups and ecosystems that are involved in it. People know about working with Rarible, our content development teams, our platform and like app development teams. Like all in, it's probably about 60 people.
Wow. Kay's asking, he posted something on my Twitter post linking this video, and he wants to know if it's supposed to be there on the MTD page.
Let me look.
You want me to tell you what it is?
Oh, I'll just look.
Take a look.
Because if it's not supposed to be there.
Yeah, take a look. I don't want to. Yeah. If you go on Twitter, I just retweeted this. Check me out.
Yeah.
And he threw something on there.
Okay, guys, Twitter linking this video.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna try to DM you. Okay, why don't you DM?
Can you drop it in the private chat, and then I'll look in the StreamYard chat, because that'll.
Yeah, Kay, just DM Trevor that and in Twitter.
Yeah, that'll help.
That'll help. Otherwise, yeah. All right. So, so my other question was, a lot of people think that you guys only have DC.
Yeah, well, we don't. We have a lot more. I just haven't announced it yet.
Yeah. What do we talk? Do you have like a number you can give us in terms of like how many different licensors that you guys are linking with?
I'm not going to. No.
Come on, Trevor. I'm trying to get something out of you.
There's
Give me
There's
something.
there's some cool
More
stuff
or less.
in two hands.
Yeah. Just blink once if it's more.
I'm not doing this game. We're not.
I tried, guys.
That's funny.
Yo, I tried. You see that? It's in a chat.
Oh, that's funny.
Guys, I'm trying to get some things out of him, but he's pretty tight-lipped, man.
I know, I get it. I've seen what Kay posted, and yeah, I'm glad. No, Kay, that's not supposed to be there.
Should we say it or no?
No, it's just I don't want to unpack it because I think it's someone trolling. I think someone edited the HTML, or did they?
All right.
It's very.
He
fun.
got us sidetracked.
All right. Anyway.
So, more than 10 IPs licensors signed up is what we just agreed on, right?
Sure. Yeah. We'll go.
Look,
we have a 30-year history of working with pretty much every licensor under the sun. Activision Blizzard is the one of the most recent one that we announced. That's huge. But everything from like all the major film studios like Disney, Universal, obviously Warner Brothers. DC is a huge part of our portfolio, as people know. But more than just like that, more than just the DC part of it, like all of Warner Brothers that we're working with. Working different game studios, music IP, which is something that is pretty new to the space. We work with all the big four sports teams, like Mcfarlane Toys has done NFL, NBA, NHL, and MLB figures like historically. Yeah. So all that stuff, like we're talking to as many people as we can, trying to if we did it physically, we're trying to also do it digitally.
And how amenable are these licensors to the digital side of things? Do they need convincing? Or is it
yes, and it's entirely dependent on who you're talking to in the licensor. They're all very different from each other.
Yeah, I could imagine, because I guess it depends on their exposure.
It depends on their exposure, their past experiences. Of course, you're dealing with people, so they come with their own preconceived notions of the space, and so a lot of it is like breaking through. There are some, we can all agree there's stigmas around NFTs in the space. So a lot of it is breaking through that and showing that we're offering a product of quality and value here. And that's going to add value to their brand as opposed to take that away. So that's there's always that part of the conversation. And that's part of the work of setting these up.
Yeah, for sure. And when can we expect, I don't know if you can tell us, but some new stuff to come out in terms of non DC stuff?
I'm not going to give specific dates, mostly because it's still being planned when we announced it. But we are constantly working on new stuff for it. And people get why it's we don't answer when questions. It's because there's an order to there's an order of operations, and you don't want to jump the gun on that stuff. So I hope people will respect why we're waiting to announce it. But we have multiple that are already done, ready to go. It's just about what's the right time to announce, aligning because the one thing we don't want to do is announce and then not have a piece come out for a year or something like that. It takes months to develop some of these pieces. It's very, especially if it's a physical digital, those kinds of things, those have at least a year of lead time, if you can imagine, because you have to get the license, build the piece, figure out how to manufacture it, go manufacture it overseas, and then ship it over here. And just that process on its own is it can take up to 4 months. So it's all those steps, it takes a long time to do those pieces. So it's it's just about what's the right time.
Yeah. And how do you guys determine edition sizes that you guys have under 2,000 for the Batman drop sold out? It's done well above in terms of secondary market. The rare one last I saw was about $86, 120 Matic or whatever it is. And now Bane is also under 2,000. Do you guys consider what it's going to do on the secondary in terms of when you're creating the edition sizes?
Yes. And that's for us, that is a big part of it, because again, and I talked about this earlier, it's I described the enemy as sideways. And what I mean by that is collectibles can go up and down in price, but when they're moving, it means people are engaging. And our goal is to get to people to be interested and engaged in our collections. The enemy is one, it just stays at one price and it's just pegged there and it stays there for a long time because it means no one's actually engaging. Even like, so that to us is really what we're trying to avoid. We are pricing this stuff in a way that is both reasonable to match like as close as we can to the physical, but also about what we think is going to lead to like a good price and a good scarcity to create interesting and engaging movement in the secondary market. For us, the secondary market matters a lot for that long because that engagement matters a lot. Certain pieces, like most of our pieces, are going to behave like that rule, but then there's other stuff like when we do physical digitals, especially in the future, that'll be larger, notably larger edition sizes. And that's because like when you go to mass market, we expect most people aren't even going to mint the digital. So it's like it's partially that because they're not even going to know how to do it, but it's also partially like people aren't going to know about that side of it, and it's going to take time for those to roll out. So I think overall it's just kind of it's a little different from like our goal is engagement. It always comes back to, are you engaging in the platform? Are you spending more time in the platform? Are you socializing in and around the platform about us more? Obviously spending more money in the platform. Are you transacting more in the platform? That's what we're trying to drive. And all edition sizes and pricing is in service of that goal.
Yeah. And what about, you guys are, Web3, need MetaMask or a wallet, transact in Matic. Do you find that to be like a barrier to entry for non-crypto literate people? And how long do you anticipate that gap is bridged?
It absolutely is a barrier to entry. And for us, bridging that gap takes a lot more than accessibility. It's also about offering something of value that makes them want to bridge that gap. Like if they believed in it now and they liked it now, they'd be trying to cross that gap themselves. The reason they're not crossing that gap isn't because it's too hard. It's because they don't care yet. Our job is to make them care. And we believe the way to make them care is to get them engaged in the system and get them to see the value of the content through their understanding, appreciation, and the valuation of the system. And that's why it's like so much of a focus on like XP, physical, digital, connecting those two worlds together. Because if I can get you excited to earn XP in our ecosystem, and then you start seeing, wow, digital collectibles are a really good way to drive that interest in XP, I'm going to start engaging on the digital side. That right there is going to teach you the value of the digital, and it'll help bridge that gap for us. Obviously, we want to make this more accessible and easier for collectors as well, but it takes more than just making the ecosystem more accessible and easier to work with.
Yeah. I love what you guys did with the Bat Cows in that community and putting those communities together. Can the Bat Cow holders, I'm assuming, will have more opportunities to capitalize on their cows? And are you guys looking to work with other communities?
Yes, for sure. Even working with the Bat Cows again is something that we're excited to do. We've already had talks with other communities about collaborating with them in a bunch of different ways. Both like even something as simple as allow lists all the way up to like the tech crossing over and like how we can get their content appearing in our show and stuff like that. Like we're always looking for ways to continue to do that, especially if it's going to help us like get the word out there and reach new audiences and get new people excited about what we're doing.
Yeah. Von Doom. I don't think it's the real Von Doom here, but ask why the Batman 2.0 says inspired by the art of Todd McFarlane and not designed by Todd McFarlane. I'm not sure what he's talking about.
Batman 2.0 toy. No, I'm not entirely sure which one is he talking about the I know. So the one that we have, the Batman Year 2, and that one is like a piece designed by Todd McFarlane. And then, yeah, I don't know about the inspired by the art of Todd. Maybe that one has to relate to the the other Todds and like just where it is like he made a piece in a comic book and then people designed figures based off that piece.
Yeah. In terms of like your showroom and what you're doing there, I love like the lighting aspect and the accessories that people get to use to create, interesting creative designs. How will like the showroom look like a year from now? Are there going to be like a ton of new features or different environments that people can create in?
Well, it's definitely going to get bigger. Like we already talked about when we have like the vehicles and stuff, we want to add like a garage space to it. We have other ideas for other spaces we want to add to it, as well as other rooms entirely that we want to add. We've even talked about and again, I don't want to make any, I'm not making, okay, this one is not a promise, but it's something that we've talked about is like, we have brands that have, like, we've done play sets around. It'd be really cool to do those play set environments as showrooms as well. So that's something that we've looked into. Like a notable one, we have the Batman 1966 and like that, like Batcave and that look from that era. So that we think that would be an awesome
Hell
gallery
yeah.
I think we would be really into that. So there's lots of different things like that we're looking into in terms of expanding it. I get more excited about not just new spaces and new content that we're putting in or new accessories, but also new ways to engage. We think the kind of the 3D model export is going to be a huge feature to get people into that, but we're only looking forward to like the next set of features that are like, okay, we've done the export. Now, what about import? Now that you've made changes to the model, how do you bring it back into the ecosystem and use it in the ecosystem? That's one. That's, by the way, much more complicated than export. Just laying that out there. So that'll take a very long time for us to solve. It just as a practical matter. We look at things like, just more deeper gamification systems, more ways, more objectives and rewards for players to chase. Obviously, more platforms, more built-in utilities around things like how you play with them. I think one that is like the most obvious one is like posability. That's a complicated feature, a really complicated feature to pull off, just because you have to surface the 3D rig in a way that is accessible and understandable to users. And anybody who's done any sort of rigging in a 3D environment knows that rigging is hard. And it's like, so figuring out how to make that accessible and usable to our audience is something that we would love to do, but it's like, that's a complicated feature that's going to take time for us to deliver. And then I could just go on and on about features I'd be excited to build. I guess one more, like social multiplayer, the idea that like two people have, like, can you and I put our collectibles together and build a showroom together that's like a synchronous multiplayer kind of environment. Like there's stuff like that we're always talking about, of like what could be the futures of interaction and play inside our ecosystem. And that's what we get.
And all of that keeps it fresh and incentivizes you to go in there and really collect, because to build things out and have that utility. And you guys got to do the Batcave, man. I don't know where you.
Oh yeah.
You got to do that 1966, man. Get me this guy, this Joker, man. These guys are dope, man. The old school Batman.
I love it. I love that. What is that ridiculous shirt he was wearing?
Yeah. This from that episode where he was playing Bane. He went to jail. You watched the old 1960s Batman? Or you're too young?
I've not actually seen it.
Joker went to jail and he was playing baseball, and I think he rigged a baseball to explode to get out.
That is very
it's very Joker.
That's very like 60s campy Joker.
Yeah, it's so Joker. Immutable asks, will there be a wash trading bounty similar to bug bounty, but one for clear and obvious XP wash trading? So I guess that's again to.
Oh, we're going even further than we're just killing wash trading. Like one of the ways we're going to do that is when you move a collectible, when you trade a collectible from one wallet to the other, you're not going to earn XP on it for 30 days. Like that's one of the things that we're going to start building, is like just to we don't want people doing that kind of wash trading because it's exploiting the system. Again, it's another example of you're trying to give less but take more, and we want to, like, if you're going to, like, we get why people want to trade, but we want people to like purchase on the market because that helps the community. And it's like that small purchase, like that relatively small purchase gets you the XP, but it also supports someone else in the community who is looking to sell that piece. Like that, for us, that's a big part of it. We don't want people like anybody who's trying to find runarounds or workarounds, like we're trying to crack down on those. So like one of them is like no XP for trading on that NFT for like, there's a moratorium effectively that we're going to build into it. Another one, once you connect a wallet to an account, it's to that account. Like you can disconnect it, but you can't reconnect it to another account. That was another idea that we had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you guys offer the discount pricing for XP holders. In terms of pricing of the collectibles, have you guys taught? Is this like the basic general range that they're going to be in?
Yes, this is like we try to price even to our physical collectors. Excuse our physical collectibles. So you'll see things be around this price. There will be some pieces that are on the lower, even lower than this piece, and then occasionally we'll do those very high end pieces because Mcfarlane is also known for like we have a couple pieces that are like hundreds of dollars. Like I think we just had like that announced at Comic-Con, the Superman Action Comics #1 figure where he's told like that's like one of 500, and that was like a $300 piece. So we occasionally do stuff like that. It's not as common.
So we might see something like that on the digital side of things.
Yeah, it depends on the figure.
Yeah.
I mean, again, a big part of this is like, does it make sense for the larger goals of like getting people more engaged? I think it depends on the piece, but like, yeah, I think there's also like IP that's like less popular, but gets more interesting if there's like a high rarity to it. Like, I won't name names on it, but you can imagine like if I'd rather have the collectible be slightly more expensive if it means we can bring down the quantity and still meet the numbers that we need to meet from like a sales perspective for supporting the licensor or like and paying for the cost of the piece. Like I think generally higher rarity, lower mint sizes are better, and I think people are more comfortable seeing the price of the pieces go up a little bit if it means the rarity is going to be shrunk.
Yeah. What do the licensors have a voice in terms of pricing and edition sizes and things like that?
No, there's actually some like weird antitrust rules about them. They can make suggestions and they can make requests, and they can certainly choose who they license out to based off their what they say is the target they're going for. Like for example, like a licensor might want someone who's working in the $5 to $10 3-inch figure space, and a different licensor who's working in like the $20 to $30 7-inch figure space, and then another license in like the $40 to $50 12-inch figure space or whatever it is, and they could choose based off the market that the licensor is charging. But generally, they're not allowed to tell you what to price things at. And I don't know the specifics of it. It's usually an antitrust kind of thing. We do talk to them about it, and we do try to get their feedback on it just because like we want to make them happy. But ultimately, it's us who is making the decisions on that.
Yeah, and I'm sure Warner Brothers was happy after that Batman drop.
Yes, they were. Actually, that was a fun meeting. We have our regular meeting with them happened literally 2 hours after that drop, and it was kind of a party. So people were very excited about that. Built a lot of optimism. That was also a week after we had our San Diego Comic-Con event. We had Warner Brothers among many other licensors at that event, and that was just fun to meet all of them in person. And the cool thing about it is like everybody's in the space is a fanboy too. Like they're all fans of this stuff. They all love this stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's been a whirlwind for you guys. I'm glad that you're getting these wins early and there's excitement around it. I'm really looking forward to the Bane drop and then all the things that are to come. You said that you had about an hour, so we're at about an hour. I wanted to thank you for jumping in, chatting with us. We didn't get to the Superman breast. Sorry, Dino. Dino's here just for Superman. He's here for the tech talk.
For people some people are really excited for that Superman 1000 just because he's ripped, and people just really want that in their life apparently.
So that'll be good for memes, I think. Oh,
for sure.
Yeah, Dino's gonna buy all of them.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I want to thank you again for coming through, chatting. Hopefully we'll do it again sometime. Thanks to everyone who came through and chatted with us. We'll catch you all. You said daddy milkers. We're going to leave on that, Blockchain Andy. Daddy milkers. See you all next time. Peace out.